We didn't get any series drops this month, and all the cards being released are going straight to Series 5. In this September Spotlight Cash datamined info, we have two cards going directly to Series 4, and that is Ravonna Renslayer and Mobius M. Mobius, which is great, but I also expect some series drops to happen. It's been 2 months now, and I think we're long overdue. So I got a really fun video for you guys here today. We're going to be talking about some predictions on cards that I think are going to drop from Series 5 to 4 and from Series 4 to 3. And I've kind of come to these conclusions based on what they've done with the Spotlight caches, which cards are becoming available. And I feel like that's going to dictate, what cards are going to end up dropping, because think about this scenario, right? Next week, X23 is being released, and she's going to be available in the Spotlight caches alongside Nebula and Silk. Let's say you don't own any of those cards, but you're really shooting for X23, but you end up opening Silk. Well, it's not so bad. You got a brand new card. But then in 3 weeks, I think we're only 3 weeks away from probably the next patch, they announced there's going to be series drops, and Silk is going from Series 5 to Series 4. Well, that's going to feel really bad. It's going to make you wish that you held on to that Spotlight cache. Now, there is always an inherent risk whenever you open or spend in Marvel Snap. They do not allow returns, and they clearly state that once you spend something, once you use that resource, it is gone. So you just got to spend carefully. That's the biggest disclaimer I can provide. But that's still not going to stop people from opening and just falling into that trap. Think about the last week of the month too, like right before a patch happens, and they're going to put a card that's dropping in series in that Spotlight cache right before it drops? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to set it up that way, but they've made a really weird situation with their economy. So I used some of that data. I looked at this right here and I thought, hey, which cards aren't here that, might be dropping in series if it happens next month? Now, this right here, this is the September Spotlight caches. It was data mined just a few short days ago. So you have Loki, the Season Pass card, and those are the 3 respective cards that are going to be featured in the Spotlight caches alongside their Spotlight variants. And then you got Goliath. People are not happy about the cards available here because there's a Dan Hip card with Hip Monkey, but then also Snow Guard. A Snow Guard variant, either or, is not a good scenario because you never see the variant and the card is trash. So not a great reward for the most anticipated card and a Series 5 release. And then you got Ravonna and Mobius, both being Series 4 cards that are going to cost 3,000 tokens. I am using my tokens on these 2 cards. I cannot wait for both of them. And I'm probably going to pass on Spotlight caches because even though these variants are amazing, DJ Kang in the house, I'm going to pass. And this mystery variant, that is not a mystery variant. It's not going to be a random variant. It's placeholder because we don't have sufficient data mined info. But anyways, definitely subscribe because I always keep you guys updated on the data mines and what's coming next and make some fun predictions like we got today. So let's get to it. All right, and here is all of Series 4. These are all the cards that are actively in Series 4. There was no Series 4 cards released this month, so it's everything July and beyond past that. So as you can see, we still got Darkhawk, Null, Zabu, MODOK, Stature. These are cards from February, January, even December 2022. What the heck? Even the previous year. So these cards, in my opinion, they're just like permanent Series 4 cards. But I'm going to show you in a second what I think is actually going to drop, and then I'll show you my predictions later on in the video for what I actually think is going to drop next month. These are the big bads. They're never changing. It's already been stated, it's public knowledge that these 4 cards are going to be permanently Series 5 6,000 tokens. Okay, so they're not going to change. We're probably going to get a few more in the future, but who knows, time will tell. So these are all the Series 4 cards. There's some pretty interesting choices, but which ones do I think are untouchable? Which ones do I think are going to be permanently Series 4? And boom, these ones right here. So I grayed out the ones that I think are permanently Series 4 or just not going to be touched, or at least not for a while, okay? So basically that top row, if they haven't done it yet, I don't see why they would. When these cards were released, series drops weren't even a thing. It wasn't even in the plans, in the work. So I feel like they're just not going to be touched. They're just going to leave them there. They're going to be permanent Series 4. These are pretty safe pickups if you want to get them with 3,000 tokens. And they're pretty good cards too. As we know, flexible series drops is AKA just holding back good cards is what it seems to be. But then also we got Nimrod. He was a season pass card. It would be a bit of a weird card for me actually to go to Series 3 and, like that being one of the first cards that you get when you're in Series 3. There's a different thought process when it comes to cards going from Series 4 to 3, because then newer players are going to get them much, much quicker. Series 3 is a large pool, but it's random, right? It's completely random. So if you drop it from 4 to 3, it could be the very first card that new player gets when they join Series 3. So it's a little bit different in that sense. But I think Master Mold, Negasonic, Snow Guard, Stegron, and even Spider-Man 2099, I feel like these are all cards that could drop from 4 to 3, no problem. And I'd like to see some of these drop sooner than later, but I'll get to that later. Let's go and check out Series 5. All right, this is where it gets a little bit spicier. So we got Series 5 cards. So all the orange cards there, that is July and August. So basically those are write-offs for me. I feel like July and August, that's too soon. Like 2 months these cards have been out, and like for instance, the Jean Grey and the Echo Season, they had 2 cards that were Series 4. That was Mirage and Legion respectively. So I feel like we're gonna not see those change for a while, at least a few months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever amount of time. And then of course the cards that haven't even come out in X23 Silver Samurai, and this month's with Dakin and Lady Deathstrike. So leaving those aside, we got some other ones that are some pretty popular cards. Kitty Pryde is actually a Series 5 card. Now, if you've been playing for a few months, she was given out free by Second Dinner because of her crazy bug and a lot of people picking her up and not being able to play with her. Well, if you didn't play in that window of time, then you'd have to pick the card up with 6,000 tokens. She's a Series 5 card. Then you got Hitmonkey. He was the Season Pass card of April. He's still kicking around in Series 5. And we got Jeff, the beloved shark, land shark, little baby land shark, still Series 5. That one's upsetting a lot of people. I'm worried about Jeff. Nebula, Season Pass card for May. She's still kicking around. Iron Lad, Howard the Duck, Living Tribunal. Living Tribunal is an interesting one because I think Glenn actually confirmed on Twitter that they wanted to make Living Tribunal a big bad, but they wanted to release them in the same month of High Evo, and they wanted to only pick one. So they're in this weird position of which one should be the big bad. They ended up going with High Evo, as you can see up here. So I feel like Living Tribunal isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Pseudo, Series 5 big bad. But then you got Ghost Spider, Silk. These cards are actually very interesting to me. You know, it wasn't that long ago. They're June, right? Ghost Spider being the June Season Pass card. But they're pretty like basic cards. I feel like they could drop in series sooner just because, you know, they're not too complex. They're easy to throw in some decks, some move decks that could use a lot of help and are fun to play with as well. And recently they buffed Ghost Spider too. So wouldn't you want that to be in more players' hands? Maybe not. I don't know. They do weird things with the power levels of cards and when they become available to the general public. So that's a bit of a tricky spot right there. But which ones of these do I think are going to change? Well, I'll get to my final predictions in a few short moments, but here are some of the cards that I think are untouchable. So you have Iron Lad, actually. I think he's permanently Series 5, or at least for quite some time. I would be pleasantly surprised to see him drop in series. He just seems like a really strong card that combos very well and, you know, ends up in a lot of deck lists. And unfortunately, that line of thought leads me to thinking that they're not going to drop him anytime soon. That's a bummer. And then Living Tribunal, playing back to what I was saying when they wanted to make him a big bad anyways. So I feel like he's going to stay in Series 5 a little bit longer than usual. And then you got all the other cards, like I said, from the last 2 months that are probably going nowhere. So that actually leaves us with quite a few cards that could drop in series, right? But the only thing I haven't added to this equation is when these cards are being featured in their spotlight caches this month that we're in right now and for September, because if they're going to do the series drops, it's going to be the first week of September or mid-September, and it would not feel good if any of the cards that are dropping were in those spotlight cache months. So if we take that out of the equation, we're not looking at too many cards left over. But here is my final prediction. All right, there you go. So I think that in Series 4 to 3, we'll see Master Mold, Stegron, and Negasonic Teenage Warhead dropping. My reason being that none of these cards have been featured in Spotlight caches this month or next month. There's a bundle coming out with Master Mold, but that's about it. So I feel like they're up for grabs, and they're a little bit overdue. Negasonic being a March card, Master Mold as well a March card, and Stegron an April card. I think they should drop. Series 5 to 4 gets a little bit more interesting. So I've listed out Howard the Duck, similar reasons, not featured in a Spotlight Cash, not the most exciting, strongest card, could probably get dropped so he could see a little bit more play. I actually really like playing with Howard the Duck. Kitty Pryde dropping in series. I think this is easy for the team second dinner to do because power level or not, you don't have a lot of people spending 6,000 tokens on this card because they probably own it if they've been around for a little bit. So why not drop this one? It looks good on a PR standpoint and you don't lose too much money out on it, by dropping it in series. Unfortunately, I know those aren't the greatest reasons to drop cards, but they're kind of the logical ones, unfortunately. Just based on what I've seen in the past is what they tend to do. And then you got Nebula. I think Nebula could drop in series. So she is being featured next week. And I know in Silk as well. And I know I'm kind of going back on what I was saying, but when you look at the other cards, like I don't want them to drop only 2. So I kind of hope they drop these as well. And this isn't saying anything. If you plan on opening up Spotlight Caches, go for it next week. Okay. Don't feel hesitant because I made this prediction. It could be so wrong. This is such an out there prediction. I'm just having a little bit of fun trying to see which cards could maybe drop. Eventually these cards are going to drop, right? Eventually. But do I think it's going to happen sooner than later? I would like to see it happen a little bit sooner. But who knows? There's, of course, the other cards that I highlighted are always possibilities, and no series drops are always a possibility. But I really genuinely think we're going to see some soon because the last time that it happened was June 13th, 2023, 2 months ago, and it was Stegron, Snowguard, and Shanna. And I remember everybody being disappointed that those were the only cards dropped. And I think the month prior we had a fairly decent drop, but it was only these 3. Nobody really cared all that much. Nobody wanted Snowguard anyways. Nobody wanted Shanna at the time anyways. She wasn't even buffed at this point in time. And Stegron, everyone hates on Stegs, man, but I love Stegs, so I was pretty stoked to see him drop. But regardless, I really feel like we're due. I hope we see some series drops soon. Let me know which ones you guys would love to see dropped in series, and any predictions that you got for this, I would love to hear in the comments below. But thank you so much for watching, everybody, and I will catch you guys next time.